Snow hammered against the windshield like fists of glass. The highway was empty, just white chaos swallowing the night. Jack Miller, 36, single dad, mechanic from Wyoming, gripped the wheel tighter as his old truck groaned through the storm. He wasn't supposed to be out there. But when he saw the faint flicker of hazard lights buried in the snowbank, he couldn't drive past. Not with his daughter sleeping in the back seat and her small voice whispering, "Daddy." Someone might need help. He stopped. He didn't think, he acted. That's how everything started. And by sunrise, his life would never be the same. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. The wind howled like it wanted to rip the world apart. Jack leaned into it, boots sinking deep into the snow as he pulled his jacket tighter. "Stay inside, Lily," he shouted back to his truck, his voice nearly drowned by the storm. The faint glow of taillights blinked ahead. Half buried in white, a black SUV tilted into a ditch. He waded closer, heart pounding, and yanked open the driver's side door. Inside was a woman, maybe in her early 30s, pale, shaking, her hands gripping the steering wheel like it was her lifeline. Her lips were turning blue. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" Jack shouted, brushing snow off her coat. Her eyes fluttered open, confused and weak. I thought someone would stop hours ago." Jack pulled off his gloves, checking her pulse. "You're lucky I came by. You're freezing." He grabbed a blanket from his truck, wrapping it around her shoulders. "You need heat now. Can you walk?" She tried to move, but her body shuddered violently. "I think my legs, all right," he said quickly, voice steady. "Don't worry, I've got you." He lifted her out of the SUV, she weighed almost nothing, and carried her through the blinding snow to his truck. Lily's small face peeked out from the back seat, eyes wide. "Daddy, is she going to be okay?" "She will," Jack said, setting the woman in the passenger seat and turning the heater full blast. "We just got to warm her up." Her eyes fluttered again, focusing on the little girl. You stopped for me," she whispered. "Of course I did," Jack said. "Wouldn't leave anyone out here." For a while, the truck was filled with the sound of wind battering metal and the faint hum of the heater. The woman's breathing slowed, her trembling easing. Jack kept glancing over, making sure she didn't fade out. "Name's Jack," he said quietly. "And this little one's Lily." The woman hesitated, then gave a faint smile. "I'm Claire." Her voice cracked as she whispered it. "Thank you, Jack. I thought I was going to die out there." He shrugged, brushing melted snow from his beard. Wouldn't let that happen. As minutes passed, color returned to her cheeks. Jack noticed the tailored coat, the diamond earrings, small details that didn't belong to someone used to being stranded on a frozen road. But he didn't ask. Not yet. When she could finally move her fingers again, he handed her a thermos of coffee. "Here, drink. It's not much, but it's hot." She took a sip and winced. "You're too kind. Most people wouldn't stop." Jack gave a short laugh. "Most people forget what it's like to be human." Her gaze lingered on him, as if she wanted to say something. But the storm outside roared too loud for words. By the time the blizzard thinned to a steady snowfall, Jack had managed to tow her SUV out of the ditch using his truck's winch. The vehicle's front bumper was cracked, but it still looked drivable. "Town's still 15 miles ahead," he said. "You shouldn't drive alone. Roads are slick and half the signs are buried. Follow me, I'll take you somewhere warm." Claire hesitated. "You've already done too much." I can't ask. You didn't ask, Jack said simply, turning toward his truck. Come on. She stared at him for a moment, then nodded, whispering something under her breath that sounded a lot like thank you. When they reached town, Jack led her to a small roadside diner. It was nearly empty, just the smell of coffee and fried eggs filling the space. Lily ran inside ahead of them, shaking snow from her boots. Jack helped Claire to a booth near the window. The waitress, an older woman with silver hair, looked up in surprise. Jack Miller, you out there in that storm again? Couldn't just drive past, Jack said. She was stuck. The waitress smiled knowingly. Of course you didn't. Coffee's on the house, sweetheart, she told Claire kindly. Claire blinked, as though kindness was something she hadn't seen in a long time. You're all very kind. Jack chuckled. Small town. We don't have much, but we share what we've got. As Lily colored on a napkin beside them, Claire finally seemed to relax. She kept glancing at the little girl, smiling faintly whenever Lily giggled. So, Jack, she said softly, you do this often? Saving strangers in the snow? Not often, he said with a modest grin. But I've been a mechanic for 12 years. Guess I've got a thing for fixing what's broken. She nodded, staring down at her cup. I used to believe that too. Jack raised a brow. Used to? Claire looked out the frosted window, her voice distant. People change. Life hardens them. Sometimes. It's easier not to stop. He watched her for a long moment, not judging, just understanding. Maybe, he said. But maybe stopping's the only thing that keeps us from losing ourselves completely. That line hung between them like warm breath in the cold. For a moment, she didn't look like a stranger. She looked like someone who'd forgotten how to trust the world. After breakfast, Jack offered to drop her off at the local inn. She hesitated before stepping out of the truck. Jack, thank you. For saving me. And for reminding me people like you still exist. He smiled faintly. Take care of yourself, Claire. World's cold enough already. She paused, eyes glistening. I owe you. You don't owe me anything, he said. Just pay it forward. Then he drove off, never expecting to see her again. But the next morning, when Jack walked into his repair shop and saw a black SUV parked outside, freshly cleaned, company plates gleaming, he froze. A woman in a sharp navy suit stepped out, heels clicking on the concrete floor. Her hair was perfectly tied back now, her presence commanding. Morning, Jack said, wiping his hands on a rag. You need a tune-up? She smiled, the same smile from the blizzard. Only now it carried power. Actually, she said, extending her hand, I'm Claire Reynolds, CEO of Silverline Industries. Jack's heart nearly stopped. You're the CEO? Yes, she said softly. And you're the man who saved my life. I believe we have some unfinished business. Her tone was calm, but her eyes said more: gratitude, curiosity, maybe even something deeper. And that's when Jack realized the storm hadn't really ended. It had just moved indoors. Jack stood frozen, the wrench still dangling from his hand. The cold metal of the shop floor suddenly felt hotter than the blizzard had been last night. Claire Reynolds, the woman he'd pulled out of an icy ditch, wasn't some stranded traveler. She was the Claire Reynolds, CEO of Silverline Industries, one of the largest engineering companies in the state. He'd heard her name before. Everyone in the county had. Wait. Silverline? Jack finally managed, his voice rough. As in the auto division Silverline? She nodded with a small, knowing smile. That's right. The one you've been subcontracting for. Jack blinked, lowering the wrench. You're my boss's boss." Claire laughed softly, the sound bright but restrained. Looks like fate has a sense of humor. She stepped closer, heels clicking, her perfume faint but expensive. She didn't look like the half-frozen woman from last night. She looked untouchable again. But her eyes? Those stayed human. "I stopped by to thank you properly," she said. "Last night, you could have driven past. You risked your life to help a stranger." Jack rubbed the back of his neck. "Would have hated myself if I hadn't." Claire studied him for a moment. "Do you always put others first like that?" Jack shrugged. "Guess it's just how I was raised. My little girl's watching everything I do. I want her to grow up believing the world's not all selfish." Something flickered in Claire's expression. Pain, maybe regret. "That's rare," she said quietly. "And important." Before Jack could reply, his boss, Mr. Lang, walked out from the office, adjusting his tie. "Jack, why are you standing around?" He stopped mid-sentence when he saw Claire. His voice instantly changed. "Miss Reynolds, I didn't know you'd be visiting our branch today." Claire turned smoothly, all professionalism. "I wasn't planning to, but I had an interesting experience last night. Thought I'd check on one of your best mechanics." Jack's eyebrows shot up. "Best?" That was a first. Lang forced a fake smile. "Of course, Jack's good with engines, but he's had attendance issues. You know how small town shops can be." Jack tensed. That wasn't the full story. He'd missed a few shifts only because Lily had been sick. But hearing his boss sell him short in front of her made his jaw clench. Claire's gaze snapped to Lang. "Attendance issues," she repeated, her tone icy. "And yet, this problematic employee was the only person who stopped on an empty highway last night, while dozens of your drivers passed me by." Lang's face drained of color. I'm sure they didn't see." "Oh, they saw," she interrupted, her voice firm. "I tracked my route logs." Jack's eyes widened. She wasn't just visiting, she was testing. Claire crossed her arms. "Mr. Lang, I want to make something very clear. Any man who's capable of that kind of decency deserves better than excuses." She turned to Jack. "You said you've been a mechanic 12 years?" "Yes, ma'am," Jack said quietly. "Started right out of high school. I mostly fix old pickups, but I know Silverline engines inside out." Her eyes gleamed, intrigued. "Then I'll make this simple. I need someone in our main division who understands the machinery the way you do. Someone who actually listens to it instead of just reading diagnostics." Jack frowned. "You mean at your HQ?" She nodded. "Full-time. Benefits, relocation, better pay. You'd be working directly under me." Lang's jaw dropped. "Ms. Reynolds, with all due respect, he's not qualified for that kind of role." Claire's voice was calm, but sharp. "He's qualified where it matters. Compassion and grit. I can teach the rest." Lang opened his mouth again, but one look from her silenced him. Jack stared at her, still processing. "You're serious?" "Very." He swallowed. "I've got my daughter, Lily. School, routines. We don't really move around much." Claire's expression softened. "I understand that. I grew up with a single parent too. Sometimes stability isn't about staying still. It's about showing them what they're capable of." Her words hit him harder than he expected. She wasn't saying it like a CEO. She was saying it like someone who knew. Jack looked down, running a hand over his calloused palm. "You don't have to do this. You already thanked me." She tilted her head. "Maybe I don't. But maybe kindness deserves to ripple further than a single night." He met her gaze. "What's the catch?" Her lips curved slightly. "No catch. unless you count showing up on time." That pulled a laugh out of him. Quiet, genuine. For a moment, the tension in the room lifted. Even Lang awkwardly stepped back, pretending to check paperwork. Claire handed Jack her business card. "Think about it. If you say yes, we'll make arrangements by Monday. Either way, you've earned my respect, and that's not something I give easily." Jack took the card carefully, like it was something fragile. "Thank you, Ms. Reynolds." She smiled. "Claire, just Claire." He nodded slowly. "Then thank you, Claire." She turned to leave, but before she reached the door, Lily came running in, holding one of her doodles, a crayon drawing of last night's truck and snow. "Miss Claire," the little girl said shyly, "this is you. Daddy said you were brave." Claire knelt down, surprised. "He said I was brave?" Lily nodded earnestly. "He said brave people help each other." Something in Claire's composure cracked right then. Her eyes shimmered. She reached out, tucking a strand of Lily's hair behind her ear. "Your dad's right. And you're brave too, sweetheart." As she stood, her voice trembled slightly. "Jack, tell your daughter she reminded me of something I'd forgotten." He frowned gently. "What's that?" Claire smiled faintly. "That real strength doesn't wear a suit." And with that, she walked out, leaving snowflakes trailing from her coat and a silence heavier than the storm itself. Jack looked down at the card again, her company logo embossed in silver. Beneath her name was a handwritten note. For saving a stranger and reminding her who she used to be. That night, as Lily fell asleep beside him, Jack stared out the window at the falling snow. His life had always been about survival. Paychecks, broken trucks, quiet nights. But now, for the first time in years, it felt like something was about to change. He didn't know if he'd accept her offer, but one thing was certain. He'd never forget the look in Claire's eyes when she said thank you. Because sometimes, the people you rescue in a storm end up saving you right back. By Monday morning, Jack stood outside Silverline Industries, heart pounding. The massive glass building shimmered in the winter sun, a world away from his small-town shop. He almost turned back twice, but Lily's voice echoed in his head. "Daddy, you said brave people help each other." He walked inside. Claire was waiting near the elevators, dressed sharply but smiling softer than before. "You came?" she said, sounding almost relieved. Jack exhaled. "Still not sure if I'm dressed for this kind of place." She smiled. "You're exactly who I needed here." They walked through the engineering floor. Walls of humming machines, workers in crisp uniforms. Claire stopped at a corner workstation, where an unfinished prototype engine sat surrounded by frustrated designers. "This design's been giving us trouble for months," she said quietly. "You once told me you fix what's broken. Prove it." Jack hesitated only a second before rolling up his sleeves. Within minutes, he spotted the issue. A misaligned fuel regulator. "You're choking the flow," he said, tightening a valve. "Simple fix, wrong mindset." When the engine purred to life, every head turned. Even Claire looked stunned. "How?" He grinned. "Sometimes machines just need patience. People too." A slow smile spread across her face. "You have no idea how right you are." Later that afternoon, she called him into her office. "Jack," she said softly, "I didn't just offer you this job out of gratitude. I needed someone who still believes in decency. This company, somewhere along the line, we lost that." He frowned slightly. "You mean, lost kindness?" She nodded. "And purpose. You reminded me both still exist." She looked down for a moment, then added, When I was stranded in that blizzard, I wasn't just freezing. I was burned out, surrounded by people who'd work for me, but none who cared. You did. Jack didn't know what to say. I just did what anyone should. Exactly, she said. That's why you're staying. Head of field mechanics. You'll rebuild this department. In your way. He blinked. You're serious? Completely. Silence stretched, warm and full. Then he smiled, that quiet, genuine kind of smile that changes a room. Guess that storm really did blow something good my way. She laughed softly. No, Jack, you were the calm in it. Months later, the local paper ran a story. Single dad turned Silverline's heart around. CEO credits his small-town kindness for saving company culture. But what the headlines didn't capture was the moment Claire stopped by his new workshop one evening, bringing Lily a model airplane and saying, "You know, she looks up to you." Jack looked at her, eyes warm. Funny, I could say the same about you. She smiled, not the CEO smile anymore, but the one from the blizzard, the real one. Outside, the snow had started again, soft and harmless this time. And for the first time in years, Jack didn't dread the storm. He'd already weathered worse, and somehow found something beautiful waiting on the other side.